can you imagine how Lazy Peon is feeling right now, bro? Lazy Peon has been stroking his lazy peon like for the past like 7 years over that damn game. Well, gentlemen, another MMO has bitten the dust. If you have not heard the tragic news, Ashes of Creation, a game that many people were very, very hyped for, recently was canceled. Not just canceled though, to my understanding, the entire development staff, the whole company is just gone. It's just underwater at this point. From what I read the other day, apparently the guy, the main funder, I forget his name, but the dude who kind of started the whole project, he felt like, you know, the board that he had assembled of people that were helping steer the creative vision of Ashes of Creation, you know, they were pressing for things that he did not want. He was getting outvoted, his authority was being questioned, whatever. And he got to the point where he said, enough, like, I don't even want to be a part of this project anymore. If it's going to go in like this direction that I just cannot get behind, that I just cannot support. He decided to step out. And then everybody else, like on the board, everybody else, like in the leadership positions, they said, well, if this guy's gone, like we're all gone. So they left. And then they sent out like an email to all the developers, all these people who, you know, I'm sure some of them have invested, you know, how long has Ashes of Creation been in development for? There are probably developers that are working over at that studio that like they were there right at the beginning when like the game was nothing more than notes on like pieces of paper, you know, and now suddenly like everything is getting pulled. I haven't looked into like the recent news. Let me actually see real fast. Has there been any recent updates? Ashes of Creation news. Let's see, just reading this new article about Steam, actually. Ashes of Creation was funded by a very, very successful Kickstarter, $3.2 million back in 2017, bro. Dude, this game has been in development since 2017. Like, we're in 2026 right now. Dude, that's like, that's like 9 years, man. You know, goodness gracious. Anyway, skipping ahead, hold on, let me just read through this real fast. Yeah, apparently it's just, like, Steam is kind of getting itself a little bit in hot water because, you know, there are people who have, you know, recently purchased Ashes of Creation because they, you know, wanted to get into the beta or whatever, like the current build was, to check the game out. And they put like a little bit of time into it, you know, just checking out the game, but it was mostly just more of a pre-order for them. Like they weren't really interested in investing the hundreds of hours into like some stupid alpha build or whatever. They just wanted to have the game in advance before, you know, it actually dropped. And now people are like, oh shit, well, I want a refund, but apparently things are kind of complicated right now and people are not getting their refunds and it's just a big mess. You know, the Ashes of Creation thing, it's just a huge mess. I feel like, let me tell you guys something. I made a couple of videos about Ashes of Creation over on my main Nixxiom channel. Maybe some of you guys watched those videos, where I just kind of talked about like the hype behind it, people being really excited. And I'm going to be honest with you guys about something that, like, you know, might surprise some of you that are watching this. I was never really that hyped for Ashes of Creation. Like, I was a little bit. Like, you know, it's like, oh, this looks cool. Like, I'm excited to check it out. But let me explain something. I started playing MMOs. I don't even know if it was either in 2003 or 2004. Like I started with RuneScape, right? Because my computer growing up was nowhere near good enough to play World of Warcraft. And so for a very long time, I won't go into like the whole story behind it, but for a long time, I was just begging my parents. I was like, please buy me like a good computer so that way I can play World of Warcraft someday. And of course, pay $15 a month, which they were not too keen on that. So new computer and $15 a month, they were like, little Nixxiom, you're out of your damn mind. Anyway, somehow I convinced them to do it. But before that, I was just playing RuneScape, okay? I played RuneScape for a while, then I played WoW, and I watched. And many of you probably are in the same camp. You know, I know, according to my analytics, so much of my audience on Nixxiom are dudes, you know, 25, 35 years old, kind of in that range or whatever. Guys, gentlemen, I'm sure you've been there just like me over the years. If you've been playing WoW, all these MMOs have come and fucking went. Dude, I remember when Warhammer Online was coming out. everybody was losing their damn minds. Like, dude, Warhammer's coming out. Warhammer's freaking huge, dude. Age of Reckoning, it's gonna be fucking awesome. World of Warcraft is dead, bro. It is dead and buried in the ground. And you know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. Nothing. Warhammer faded away into obscurity, and World of Warcraft kept on growing, and it kept going strong. And it was freaking awesome. By the way, just want to say, side note, Warhammer Online is fucking awesome. It is a great game. I love the fact that the fans brought that game back with like Return of Reckoning, like the correct word, emulator server for it, or just like, you know, the point is the fans made their own damn server for the game after it got shut down. It's called Return of Reckoning. I've played on there, tons of fun. I loved Warhammer, but Warhammer couldn't hold up to World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft was the fucking king, and it still is, all right? And then, do you guys remember when like WildStar was coming out? Everyone was like, oh, dude, WildStar, WoW is dead, bro. WoW is fucking dead. Like, it's dead and buried in the ground because WildStar has like this awesome PvP and its graphics look so cool and stylized, and you got player housing in WildStar, and oh my goodness, like WildStar is gonna kick WoW's ass. And you know what? WildStar came out and it fucking died. And, you know, I enjoyed WildStar. Like, dude, I played all of them. Like, all these MMOs that are like, dude, this is gonna kill WoW. Dude, I'm a huge MMO fan. I love massively multiplayer online role-playing games. I always have. And so, like, WildStar, like, man, I played it. I thought the PvP was fun. I liked all, like, the combat stuff, like, on the ground, like, little combat, like, reticules, or I don't know the term for it, but this things like appeared on the ground, you know, like showing like, oh, the sweep is gonna go like this and the blazer is gonna go like that. Like, that was really cool. That was really creative. It made PvP a lot of fun. It was fun, but like WildStar fucking died. Dude, then Star Wars Galaxies. Or no, excuse me, Star Wars The Old Republic. Damn. Star Wars The Old Republic's coming out. It's being developed by frickin' BioWare, bros. It's the most expensive, most ambitious video game ever made in history. How much money did they spend on Star Wars The Old Republic? I don't even remember. Let me see. How much money was spent in the development of Star Wars The Old Republic? Back in 2011, Star Wars The Old Republic cost $200 frickin' million to develop. It was the most expensive gaming project ever attempted back in those days. Let's compare that to World of Warcraft. Okay, so according to Almighty Grok, it says that World of Warcraft, released back in 2004, cost approximately $63 million to create at the time. Fellas, if you weren't there, people were losing their minds when it came to Star Wars The Old Republic. It was Star Wars, super popular IP. People wanted an updated Star Wars MMO. Star Wars Galaxies, you know, had been out for years. Star Wars Galaxies is older than World of Warcraft. If you guys have ever played Star Wars Galaxies, really fantastic MMO. Tons of fun. It's like the ultimate sandbox MMO. I fucking love it. But Star Wars The Old Republic, it was going to be like an updated, like better, you know, Star Wars MMO experience. You know, they were taking a ton of lessons from World of Warcraft. What worked, what didn't. They were trying new things. You know, they were doing all this like fully cinematic voice acting and cutscenes for every quest and stuff. And people were losing their minds, man. Like, even me. Dude, back in the day, I remember having my desktop wallpaper, you know, like those wallpapers on like the official like SWTOR like website and stuff. Man, I was pumped. I was talking to all my friends about it. I was excited because the thing is, like, I've always been like a huge World of Warcraft fan. I've always been a huge World of Warcraft fan. I always like, you know, greatest game ever made. It's awesome. But, you know, kind of secretly, you know, in a deep secret corner of my heart, it's like I always wanted something to come along that was better. You know, I wanted like the one true king to be dethroned by something that was just like, you know, just like how World of Warcraft pushed MMOs to like a whole new level of quality. I wanted to see some new MMO come out inspired by World of Warcraft and just, you know, not like stomp it into the dirt, but be like a true competition to Blizzard. Because the thing is, like, the reason why I wanted that is because, like, ever since World of Warcraft came out in 2004, and as it grew over the course of like the next 2 years, World of Warcraft just became like untouchable. It genuinely not only became like the king of MMOs, but it was like like a king in all gaming. Like MMO, like World of Warcraft was just dominating the gaming market. Like, and it was insane. And like the thing is Blizzard didn't really have much competition. They really didn't. Like, yes, every now and then, like, you know, this new MMO would come out, like Warhammer or WildStar or something, but then those MMOs, they would just like die out within like a couple of months. Like nobody was playing them. And, you know, so I wanted this, you know, I wanted an MMO to come out that really was challenging Blizzard, that was really threatening the World of Warcraft community, that was even making someone like me, you know, this, you know, obsessed World of Warcraft fan that I am, making someone like me, like even question like, oh, should I play WoW or should I be playing, you know, whatever online? You know, and I really wanted that experience because I felt like in the end, that would just make World of Warcraft better. Then that would make whatever that new game is, that would just make that better. You know, the competition would be good. But the thing is, Star Wars The Old Republic came out, and I played it for a little while after release, but then it died. And it died because of, you know, end game issues and stuff. It died because of many, many reasons. I mean, I could do a whole like discussion video as to like, you know, my perspective of why I felt SWTOR died, why I ended up quitting the game after just a short amount of time. But SWTOR died. And when Star Wars The Old Republic died, maybe I'm like forgetting an MMO. I'm trying to think. But like when SWTOR died, like that was like, at least for me, that was like a nail in the coffin. That was like a World of Warcraft can never be touched kind of moment. Because if Star Wars couldn't bring down like World of Warcraft, if the most expensive video game ever made in history, if that, like being made by BioWare was not so like much of a meme. They weren't so like controversial at the time from what I remember. Like, you know, if BioWare couldn't do it with the budget that they had been given with Star Wars, you know, as like their platform or whatever, it was over. Like World of Warcraft would be king forever, untouchable. There was a time, if you guys remember, like just a couple of years ago when like Final Fantasy XIV or whatever, like was kind of touching WoW. There was like this moment where Final Fantasy was bigger than World of Warcraft, and like every streamer and their mom was out like playing it and you know, talking about how great it was. I played it, and personally me, I didn't really like it that much. I finished the main quest, you know, the whole 1 to 60 experience, the Realm Reborn stuff. I finished that, and I thought it was so fucking boring. I wasn't enjoying the gameplay. I didn't really like the look of the game, whatever. And people were saying like, okay, now that the Realm Reborn is done, like, you know, now bro, like now it's gonna like really take off or whatever. But I mean, at that point, I was just burnt out, man. And honestly, you know, if I have to play through like however many hours, you know, just to like get to that point, you know, checking out different characters, alts, and, you know, whatever. Because I was trying to find like, you know, a class that I really enjoyed, professions and stuff. Like, I don't really remember all the details. It was a few years ago, but all I know is that like I just didn't like it. I was not a fan. And I remember like, you know, the point is, I'm not trying to share my testimony with Final Fantasy here. That's not my point. My point is that I remember everyone and their mom was like screaming about like, dude, this is it, bro. This is the WoW killer. Dude, did you see the news article, bro? Like, you know, Final Fantasy, bro, like it surpassed World of Warcraft in subs, bro. And I sat there. You'll notice I never made a video for Final Fantasy on Nixxiom. If you guys have been following me for a long time, I never made a video about the channel or about the game. At least I don't think I did. If I did, like, I don't even remember. You know, because someone might leave a comment and be like, well, actually you did. I don't remember if I did or not. I did stream the game for a while though, when I was leveling up and trying things, but I remember people saying that and linking me the articles and saying like, it's here, bro, the death of World of Warcraft. And I sat there and I shook my head and I said, you poor damn naive fool. You know, like you think that this game is gonna like dethrone World of Warcraft. It's not gonna happen. And guess what? It didn't. World of Warcraft, like Final Fantasy had its moment in the spotlight. You know, Asmongold was playing it and stuff. you know, blah, blah, blah. People were like busting nuts over it, and then people got bored, and you know what? They went right back to World of Warcraft. Final Fantasy had its 15 minutes, and then it was over. And I think even then, people sat there and said, this is it. Like, you know, if Final Fantasy couldn't do it, a game that's been around for forever, it's had all this content put out and stuff, no one can do it. And then here we go. Back to Ashes of Creation. You know, I've been talking about all these different MMOs, but you know, the whole video is supposed to be about Ashes, right? But like, you can't really talk about Ashes without talking about these other MMOs, because, you know, a lot of you guys probably, maybe you're a bit younger and you're watching this video, and maybe you don't understand like why people were so hyped for Ashes. I said earlier in the rant, like, I was personally not that excited for Ashes because, admittingly, you know, I've been down this rabbit hole this rodeo like so many times. Like, oh man, you know, getting hyped for some new MMO, and then it comes out and it's cool for like a month, and then you just go right back to playing WoW. You know, I've been there, I've done that so many times that's exactly what was going to happen with Ashes in my mind. So I wasn't really getting that excited for it, you know, just so, you know, I can explain that. But I do admit there was a lot of things in Ashes that looked cool. But the thing is, like, there were so many people that were not like me. Maybe even some of you watching this video. You looked at frickin' Ashes of Creation and you thought like it was the second coming. Like, people were losing their minds over how excited they were about this game. Videos being made by people like Lazy Peon and whatnot were raking in millions of views about Ashes and everything that it was gonna do to take MMOs to like a whole new level of quality. People were pumped. And I think the main reason why people were pumped is probably, it's the same reason why people were pumped when it came to Star Wars The Old Republic. You know, people looked at Ashes of Creation, and I think that many people had a very similar sort of mentality as many did, including me, when Star Wars The Old Republic was coming out. They looked at this game and they saw like what Ashes of Creation was doing different. You know, Star Wars The Old Republic, it was bringing like, you know, all these like cinematic cutscenes and fully voice acted quests and stuff to the game. You know, combat where like the lightsabers actually parried each other and stuff. Like, oh, it was so cool looking, so immersive looking. I mean, it looked incredible. And people looked at Ashes of Creation and they looked at its class system and they looked at like the node system or whatever it was called. They looked at like the dynamic world and they said, holy crap, like look at this. They looked at like the passion behind the team, just like we looked at the passion behind like BioWare and its developers. Like, you know, what was that one dude's name? Like, he was the bald-headed bastard that worked at BioWare. He was like the lead writer on SWTOR. His name was like Eric something. What was this guy's name? I gotta look it up now. Daniel Erickson, bro. I loved Daniel Erickson. Every time that bald-headed bastard like popped up into some behind-the-scenes video, I was like, Daniel! Like, you know, you could just tell this guy was fucking pumped for Star Wars The Old Republic. He was so fucking hyped. And the dude looked like a complete fucking dork. You know, it was great. Like, I loved that guy, man. And so people were hyped, man. They were hyped for SWTOR. They were hyped for Ashes. They saw how like passionate like the developers were behind it. And I think too, like players were appreciating the fact that when they looked at Ashes, like Ashes had problems, of course it did, but like the developers were clearly aware of it and they were clearly determined to release the best quality product possible, which is why the damn thing, you know, has been in development for 7 freaking years. I mean, it's like a meme. And that's another thing, man. People like looked at how long this game has been in development hell, and they were like, dude, like this is gonna be it. Like these people are trying to do it right. And now Ashes is dead. It's been canceled. I think I read somewhere the other day that someone was trying to buy it maybe continue development on it. I'm not sure, but it's very possible that it's over. You know, all that hype over 7 years, man. Can you imagine how Lazy Peon is feeling right now, bro? Lazy Peon has been stroking his lazy peon like for the past like 7 years over that damn game. I can only imagine like what he feels right now. He's probably just like, oh shit. I can only imagine what that guy feels right now. But you know, there's so many of you guys, you know, probably watching this video that were like just as hyped, just as excited. And, you know, and I sit here and I mean, I don't really know what to say. Like, it's just, it kind of makes me a bit sad a bit, because it's like, WoW is going to continue without competition. Not without true competition. You know, there's other MMOs out there. You know, there are even MMOs out there that I consider to be just as good as World of Warcraft, and in some ways better than World of Warcraft. Looking at you, Lord of the Rings Online. Anyway, that's a video for another time. But like, World of Warcraft is continuing without any true competition. And, you know, and I see these comments popping up, like even like my most recent video on on Midnight. I just made a video, my last one on this channel, like I recorded it yesterday or whatever, where I was just talking about like the new Midnight expansion. And I was like, oh, you know, Midnight's coming out. And in 21 fucking years of playing this game, bros, like I have never seen so little hype for a World of Warcraft expansion. When you look at like the comment sections and like the comments like on like the cinematics, and you see the engagement on social media and stuff, like Midnight, like even the fact that like Blizzard, the only thing they ever fucking push, like the only thing they ever talk about when it comes to Midnight is player housing. Like, it just looks like such a lackluster expansion, and people seem so uninterested in it. But again, if you want to hear my full thoughts on that, I made a whole video about that recently. Watch out for more Ladim real fast. See him wandering around over there. Holy shit, dude, there's a level 60 right there. I better be careful. It's dangerous. She's herb gathering. Okay, she'll probably leave me alone. She's probably just here for grave moss. Anyway, when I go on my comment sections, whether it's on Nixxiom or like that video that I just made, you know, yesterday for this channel talking about Midnight and the lack of hype and stuff, you will see so many comments left by people like talking smack about the modern game. They'll talk about how much they absolutely freaking hate, like how woke the modern game is. It's all women, it's all gays, you know, it's all like, you know, LGBTQ crap, like blah, 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 blah. Like Blizzard's just a bunch of homos, like yada, yada. It's everywhere. You know, you see it all over the comment section. You got people saying that you hate the fucking game because, oh, you know, it's so fucking easy now. Classic WoW, like, you know, maybe mechanically, you know, it wasn't as difficult as like the modern game or whatever, but at least classic WoW required like a commitment of time and passion and blah, 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 whatever. You got those comments. You got people talking about they hate the modern game because of LFR. You got people talking about how they hate the modern game because of LFG. They hate the modern game because it's just a big, like, you know, like pet and mount collecting simulator. People saying that they hate the modern game because the tone, I want to make a video talking about this here soon. The tone of World of Warcraft has changed over the years. Like back in the day, World of Warcraft was a game that was like designed for the audience of a 25 to 35-year-old dude who plays D&D like on the weekends and reads J.R.R. Tolkien. And now, who is World of Warcraft made for? Like when you look at like the tone and you see like the freaking Guzu got in trouble. Well, not in trouble for this, but Guzu trended a little bit because of this, because he showed, you know, the modern, the most recent cinematic from Blizzard, you know, the Blood Elf woman, the rogue, and she's like, you know, walking around the house and all the orcs and everyone's all happy and stuff. And then he compared that with some old Warcraft 3 cinematics, and you just compare those two different tones, and people will talk about how back in the day, man, you know, World of Warcraft had this tone of being made for like dudes, and it was about war and violence and fighting and things and all the, you know, all this dark stuff. Again, I want to make a whole video on this eventually, just kind of sharing my thoughts on this topic. But who's World of Warcraft made for today? Some liberal female college undergrad who barely knows how to work a fucking iPhone. Now those comments pop up too. I see them. You know, I see them. People are fucking pissed, bro. People hate the modern game. And yet here's the thing. They keep playing it. Because so many people feel like they don't have a choice. MMO players are interesting. Because the thing is like, there are so many instances of MMO gamers who they will absolutely hate the MMO that they're playing, but they'll just keep playing it. They'll just keep playing it religiously. The point is that there's a large number of people that play World of Warcraft today, retail WoW, and they don't like the game for whatever reason. They don't like Blizzard for whatever reason. And they were hoping, they were hopeful that Ashes of Creation was going to come along and be like the next big MMO, because there's a lot of people out there that they play MMOs not necessarily for the game, but for the community. And they want to be a part of a large, living, breathing community of people. This is a topic me and a friend of mine had in a cigar lounge once, how like every now and then you'll meet someone, and it would, well, maybe not, probably more than every now and then, if you like, you know, talk to MMO players, maybe some of you guys as well, like you'll meet these people who like, they play MMOs and like the video game is secondary. Like the video game and the content and like whatever doesn't really matter to them. What matters is that they're playing an MMO and they have this whole new world to explore and delight in with like all these people. And just that fact alone keeps them playing. And they have this sort of desire to just be a part of a really big community in this like alternative world. And I know that there's probably quite a few people that were excited for Ashes of Creation to be that new big next World of Warcraft community so that they could potentially leave this game behind. Leave World of Warcraft behind, the game that they strongly dislike for whatever reason, and play a game that they actually enjoy, a part of a community that's online, some large, big community that they can just delight in. I know that might sound a little bit weird to some of you guys. Some of you guys might just be like, what the heck are you talking about, Nixxiom? There really are a lot of people like that. You know, people that, you know, they hate WoW, but they just keep playing WoW, and they will not stop playing World of Warcraft, because World of Warcraft is the biggest MMO. It's got the biggest community. And so these people want to be a part of a very large community, and the game is secondary to them. You know, they just want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, but not this world. You know, this one, this online world or whatever. And so I don't know. It's interesting. But the thing is that I have to say, you know, to people like that, it's like there are alternatives out there. I mean, I really can't stress enough like how much I love Lord of the Rings Online. Like Lord of the Rings Online is great. There are so many people out there that absolutely love old school RuneScape. There are so many people out there that dude, Guild Wars 2. I totally forgot about Guild Wars 2 when I was talking about previous MMOs. Dude, like Guild Wars 2, man, like that game is still popping to this day. Like Star Wars The Old Republic, you know, people are still playing it. There are other MMOs out there. There are other MMO communities out there. And even though maybe Ashes of Creation has failed, you know, if you're looking for like, you know, some new MMO, like some new home, you know, other than Azeroth, if you really don't like, you know, World of Warcraft and the direction that Blizzard has gone in with the modern game, you can play other games. You know, maybe, yeah, you're not a part of like some huge community, like, you know, millions of people. But, you know, speaking from experience, dude, like whenever I play Lord of the Rings Online, like there's only so many people that play Lotro. And it's almost like a small town. It's like everybody knows each other. Everyone knows each other. Some of those people have grown up with one another. Like it has a really small town vibe. And, you know, they have like their little events and stuff that they do, and it's just a lot of fun. You don't need to be like hooked on the multi-million player MMO. Like sometimes like you might actually find a greater pleasure in playing an MMO with fewer players. I think it sucks that Ashes of Creation has died in the way that it has. I'm not, you know, taking it as hard as some of you guys, but I can imagine that there is a great disappointment in many people's hearts. That all said, I guess maybe someone will purchase Ashes, and maybe we'll see, you know, the development of the game continue. Maybe not. But I guess we're gonna have to wait and find out. You guys wanted to hear my thoughts on Ashes of Creation and what all has been going on recently. And those are my thoughts. So maybe my next video is going to be maybe just discussing the shift in tone with World of Warcraft over the years, like going all the way back to like Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, and comparing that with like Midnight and how things have changed in terms of Blizzard's philosophy. That video will most likely offend some people. I am sure it'll definitely get some people very heated up, but I will say that because people are so passionate about it as a subject, maybe it is a subject that is worth discussing, even if people do get a little bit riled up by it. So subscribe if you want, and I'll talk about that here soon, unless I get another idea that I want to touch on first. Thank you all for subscribing, by the way, those that have so far. This is a new channel, so thank you for helping me, slowly get to 1,000 subscribers on here on Nixxiom Talks. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all with my next video. See ya.